Hello and welcome to another FPL Advice video. Today we're going to do a buy, hold, sell, avoid sort of content where we discuss players who have already been transferred in or transferred out by many FPL managers before the Game Week 6 deadline. This is the first time I'm doing this sort of video, so do let me know in the comments what you guys think of it. So first up, we have Luke Shaw, and as you can see, he's the most owned defender in FPL. He has an ownership of 41.7%, and I'm assuming that's going to drop significantly soon, as Man U have kept only one clean sheet so far in their first 5 games. And the 5 games they played West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves, Southampton, and Leeds. He hasn't had a lot of touches in the box. However, he has created 14 chances already this year, which is tied for second best with Matt Ritchie. The only player who has had created more chances is Trent with 20 created chances. Based on these stats and the fixtures that Man U have, I do think it's time to say goodbye to him. I personally will keep him for another week or two because I don't want to waste a transfer. And I know I'm going to wildcard in game week 7 or game week 8 where I will be getting rid of him. However, if you have already wildcarded and he's still in your team, I do think it's time to say goodbye to him. There are better options at 5.5 million, and I think it's just a matter of time until he starts dropping in price. So I think if you do it now, you'll kind of avoid that price decrease. So next up, we have Sarr. He got 15 points last game week, and he has already risen in price. He's been transferred in by 177,000 FPL managers already. Watford do have 2 really good game weeks coming up where Sarr is going to be a threat. He's going to be a threat against Newcastle and also against Leeds, who are in a situation with a lot of injuries right now, especially on the defensive end. So I think that Sarr can get a lot of points in the next 2 games. As you can see, his expected goals this year is 2.2, which is actually second highest for any midfielder who costs 6.5 million or lower, so that's pretty incredible. He has 11 shots in the box already, which is the highest number for any midfielder priced at 6.5 million. And he's created 9 chances so far, which is really good for a 6.1 million midfielder. I would say that if you already have him, he's definitely a hold. You should definitely keep him. There's no player better than him for that price point, especially with the fact that he has Newcastle and Leeds up next. His fixtures do get a little bit more difficult in game week 8, so I personally would probably look to transfer him out before the Liverpool game. However, I don't think that's a necessity, right? Because I do think he can still get returns against Everton, Southampton, and Arsenal. But I guess heading into game week 6, as of right now, I would give him a buy or a hold rating. So next up, we have Mateo Kovacic, who has 3 assists and 1 goal already this season. He cost only 5.1 million, which is incredible, right? He's so cheap. Chelsea's fixtures look great starting game week 7. As you can see, 85,000 FPL managers have already transferred him in. Again, he's averaging 5.8 points per game, which is so good for a 5.1 million midfielder. And also, Chelsea's fixtures are just starting to get good, so I truly understand why people are jumping on him. But as a Chelsea fan, I would say avoid him. And the reason I say that is last year, he got 0 goals and 1 assist. He's playing the same exact position. He has the same exact role for Chelsea in that center midfield. I don't think he's going to continue this run of attacking returns. He's not that sort of player, and that's just not his role, right? Yes, he started off the season super well, and I hope he continues it, but he's not a player who's going to get 10 assists this year. He's not a player that's going to get 5 goals, right? He does not shoot outside the box, and if he does, it's a terrible shot. I guess if you do have the extra 0.6 million in the bank, and you could upgrade Sissoko to a Kovacic, it might make sense for the next 7 game weeks or so, but I don't think he's going to get many more returns than a 4.5 million midfielder who's going to play 90 minutes week in and week out. Kovacic will get rotated with Conte or Saul, so I don't think he's also going to be getting 90 minutes week in and week out. So because of all these considerations, I would say that Kovacic gets a hold rating if you already own him, and if you don't own him, I would say avoid, because again, I don't think he's going to continue getting these attacking returns that he's been getting in the first 5 games. Next up, we have Bruno, and he's already been transferred out by 132,000 FPL managers and counting, right? I think that's going to get to 200, if not more, by the end of the deadline. He's already decreased in price to 11.9 million. and his ownership has dropped to 33.1%. For anyone who watched the game over the weekend, you will know how unfortunate he was to not get any returns. He should have had assists, he should have had a goal, but he got unlucky with the post. There was also 2 penalties that, in my opinion, probably should have been penalties. So I don't know if he was going to take those or Ronaldo, but again, the opportunity was there. So even though he's among the best midfielders when it comes to creating chances, I do think that now with Ronaldo in the team, it is time to switch the two. There are so many good and cheap midfielder options right now that I do think the smartest option going into game week 6 or in game week 7 or game week 8 wildcard, it just makes sense to drop Fernandes to a 6.5 million midfielder and improve a forward. So because of Ronaldo, I do think that Bruno receives a sell or avoid rating heading into game week 6. Naturally, the next person I have to talk about is Ronaldo after telling you to sell and avoid Fernandes. But before we move on, if you wouldn't mind, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new to FPL Advice. My goal for the remainder of the year is to reach 1,000 subscribers, so it'd really mean the world to me if you could help me get there. But alright, so as I said earlier, next up we have Cristiano Ronaldo. Already 208,000 FPL managers have transferred him in. He has an expected goals of 3.24 and has had 12 shots in the box in only 2 games, which is crazy. He has become the second most owned player in FPL right after Salah, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he soon becomes the most owned. One thing to note, if you haven't wildcarded yet and your plan is to wildcard in game week 7 or game week 8, plan ahead and keep in mind that his price is going to rise, right? He is going to rise to 12.8 million or even 12.9 million. So if you can get him now, it honestly makes sense. Because he will rise in price. So Mikel Antonio is another player where many FPL managers are transferring him back into their teams. He's been transferred in by 213,000 FPL managers so far this weekend. But also interestingly, he's been transferred out by 67,000. I'm assuming those are kind of the people who are transferring him out and transferring in Ronaldo. Antonio has had the most shots in the box so far this year, even though he had to miss the last game due to a red card. I do think that statistic is going to be overtaken by Ronaldo, who's already at 12 shots in the box just after 2 games. With an expected goals of 3.09, I do think that Antonio is hands down the most reliable 7.5 to 8 million forward. Although keep in mind that West Ham are also playing games during the week in the Europa League. So that's just something to keep in mind, that he might not be getting in 90 minutes week in and week out. And also more playing time means that there's more opportunity to get injured with the little amount of days that he has to rest. And we know Antonio does get injured often. So again, by picking him up, I do think you should consider having a plan to kind of downgrading him if need to, if he does get injured. Because Leeds have so many injuries in the back and will most likely have to play some youth players against West Ham, I think Antonio becomes a captain candidate for game week 6. And heading into game week 6, I do think that if you don't have him, you should consider buying him. And if you do have him, definitely hold him for the next games. And next up, we have Ivan Toni, who has finally had a game against Wolves that his 14.1% owners have been waiting for. He had 1 goal, 1 assist, and 3 bonus points. He's dropped in price by 0.2 million since game week 1. So that's been a bit unfortunate, I would say. But he does have decent statistics for a 6.5 million forward. But again, I do think that that price point, there are better options in the midfield. And I do think that going into game week 6 and onward, it's kind of crucial to have Ronaldo and then Lukaku starting in game week 7. He's had an expected goals of 1.68, expected assists of 0.9. He's created 7 chances and he's also had 8 shots in the box. So he has really good statistics, but the fixtures are really difficult for Brentford, starting with Liverpool, then West Ham, Chelsea, and Leicester. Because of that, I would say that Toni is a sell or avoid here. Maybe in game week 10, I would consider bringing him back into my team, but I do think that he is a sell or avoid due to the fixtures that they have. And next up, we have Alan St. Maximin, who has been a popular Game Week 6 transfer. And as you can see, he's been transferred by 173,000 FPL managers already. He's just risen in price from 6.6 million to 6.7 and is now owned by 10.8% of FPL managers. Looking at his statistics, Toni does have much better expected goals and slightly worse expected assists per game. They have similar shots inside the box and chances created, but Toni is cheaper and is also on penalties. I guess what's really attractive about him and what is the main reason that so many FPL managers have already picked him up in game week 6 is the fixtures. They're playing Watford, Wolves, Tottenham, and then Crystal Palace. So I do kind of understand that. I think if you're looking to wildcard in game week 7 or game week 8, he might not be a bad option to swap Toni for the next 2 games. Due to the fixtures, I would give him a hold or a buy rating here. But again, I would definitely make this short term. He's not a player I want to have for the rest of the season. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you again so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new to FPL Advice. Again, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so every subscriber really means the world to me. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this content and how you like this layout. Again, I want to do more of these videos, these buy, hold, sell, avoid sort of videos. So do let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Again, thank you, and until next time.